So, there's a story that's going all the way around the world. It's been the subject of a podcast in 2017, but that was before it was resolved. It was an interesting story about a runaway, about a fugitive, about a man who at a very young age committed a really heinous crime, perhaps in the spur of the moment, in a rage, and was convicted, made a jailbreak, and disappeared off the face of the earth in the 60s. And it's a case that has fascinated people for so long. People like US Marshals and people of Nebraska Correctional Department of Correctional Services, the FBI. And it was resolved by somebody in Australia, just south of where I live, who was looking for probably some meaning in their life, to look for who they are and to want to have some answers to some questions, hoping that DNA testing could help them have some connection and have some resolution, or perhaps even understand their father, who they had lost in 2010. And oh boy, it opened a real can of worms. And I mean, it just makes me laugh, right? Because here's Leteica Hardin, who is demented. She is demented, we know that, but she's only crazy, not insane. And she's demented, and she's violent, and she's cruel, she's selfish, she's sadistic, she's narcissistic. And there she is. Was it when she was in Florida or Carolinas, Middle Beach, searching for face transplant near me? Yeah, well, we saw a face plant, didn't we? We saw a face plant with the jury verdict and the judge's sentencing today. So righteous. What would Leteica Hardin have done? Wonder what name she would have chosen to live under, what identity, and how she just would have moved forward with life, just disappeared into the rest of the humans, disappeared into humanity. What sort of life would she have made? Would she have been as successful as this person who ended up in Mount Tambourine Cemetery, an hour south of Brisbane City? Mount Tambourine Cemetery, where he is, surrounded by places, Witches Falls, surrounded by day spas, wineries, rainforests, national parks, the Skywalk. There's so much there. It's kind of this food and wine area. And, if motorcyclists are getting a little tired of Mount Nebo, Mount Glorious, the really terrible roads that wrap around our dams out north and everything, well, they can go down through toward Mount Tambourine and then go on a really spooky road called the Goat Track. But just with amazing views, and it's a place where people go, they do go to be a little bit separate, a little bit, I don't want to say sovereign, or whatever, but it's a place where people want to go and just be quiet, alone, private. They can buy this rundown house, not for $1 million in the city for some clapboard thing, but they can, oh, this is so bright now, isn't it? Look, let me use one of our new, look, I've discovered that I've got filters now, aren't I special? Let's try and find something to soften me up. I look really harsh. Maybe I shouldn't put lipstick on when I do these things. That's called glamour. Is it working? Oh, wow. I mean, somewhere where people go when they want to... Sepia, that's nice and soft. Somewhere where they want to go to, you know, have a little bit of land around them, have the space, have their motorcycles, have their sheds, have their animals, or, you know, just get on with their own business kind of thing. And then there's the creatives. And then there's the business people, you know, the business people that are making the B&B businesses work. They're running restaurants and they're just trying to get in those dollars from the tourists that will trickle up or drop in on their way from Surfers Paradise and further down the coast. And, you know, it's probably a lot gentrified now, but, you know, it's a place where people go for special birthdays or gatherings, or, you know, just take visitors from out of town or whatever, right? And I haven't tried to spooky dooky into this person's family, because all family on both sides, so his American families and his Australian family, who actually were an origin family with him in the US, they've declined to talk to any media. So okay, but I just found it really interesting. So I'll just tell you about this guy. So it's John Vincent Damon. He took that identity when he was in America. But John Vincent Damon is the name that's on the Mount Tambourine Cemetery gravestone. He died on August the 6th, 2010, when he was 69. And the people here in Australia, for all intents and, you know, for all of their belief, everyone who knew him in Australia, he was John Vincent Damon. He died quite young, only 69, and he left behind a wife and 2 children. His real name was William Leslie Arnold, and he, in the 50s in Nebraska, fatally shot his parents, both parents. He was having a dispute with his parents over the use of the family car. Now, this is probably a really age-old argument. I mean, I was never allowed to use a family car. I bought a mini Leyland, a British Austin Leyland as my first car, I think when I was 21. But, you know, I know that this is a regular thing. And this William Leslie Arnold, I mean, in his arrest photo 2 weeks after the crime, you know, he's got the short back and side with the longer coif on top, a la James Dean. And, you know, imagine this young man just wanted to get out and cruise, get out and joyride, get out, go into town, meet girls, maybe pick up a girl, maybe go out even to the movies, or go out and just hang out with his mates. Who knows? But who knows how he grew up and how strict his parents were, why he wasn't allowed the car. Was it just because something had happened and he wasn't allowed the car? He has gotten a gun and just shot his parents dead. And then he's buried them in the back garden. And this kid, he was 16 years old. So 2 weeks later, their bodies were discovered and he was arrested. So this is 1959. And then you've got to fast forward through all the years that he was a model prisoner up until July the 14th, 1967. And William Leslie Arnold made an escape from the correctional facility with another prisoner. And the other prisoner was captured, but William Leslie Arnold disappeared, just absolutely disappeared. He has been hunted by many people, as I was saying at the beginning, US Marshals, the FBI, the Nebraska Department of Correctional Facilities law enforcement officers. At one stage, he was thought to have possibly been in Brazil because his actual name turned up in Brazil on some documents. Maybe even, maybe through his years of mulling this over in prison, he thought about some sort of ruse like that. So what would Leteica have done, right? What would Leteica be doing? What would Leteica be doing in all those years in prison before her prison break? And then she gets out and she makes her escape to the plastic surgeon. She changes her look dramatically and everything about her so that, her whole persona can just disappear into the human gloop. Would she do it? I mean, she really thought she might be able to do this, right? What this young man did, in her 40s, very recognizable, and such an obscene, disgusting person. How would she have controlled herself, subdued her urges to be, an absolute bitch so that she wouldn't get found out? So this guy called Matt Westover, he's a US Marshal, and he talked often to this FBI agent who had researched Arnold's case throughout the 90s. And, this went through so many services, but it came to this guy, Matt Westover, in August 2020. The Nebraska Department of Correctional Services guy, Jeff Britton, he had investigated from 2004 to 2017, 2013, and, people were talking often about this, and, people were obsessed about finding this young man, because there was sort of all these leads and all these clues that were everywhere. I mean, how would Leteica, I wonder how she would hide and what clues she would leave behind when she's, on a run. Maybe this is some sort of fantasy that she can disappear into just to make her time kind of bearable in between having the nightmares about Gannon's last words. And as Albert Stout said, when Leteica Hardin wakes up every morning, I hope it's to the sound of the gunshot and the final words that Gannon never spoke to her. So William Leslie Arnold, he went a few places all over the US. He ended up he went to Chicago. That's where he got his new name, John Vincent Damon. And he married someone who already had 3 daughters. So became a stepfather of 3 daughters. None of the stepdaughters want to talk to news media either, as well as his Australian children. Well, his children that now live in Australia. He went to Cincinnati, went to Miami. He did get divorced. He then went and lived in California and remarried. I mean, we can see Leteica Hardin, becoming quite the wanderer, maybe marrying people without even divorcing, perhaps collecting on some insurance money to make her way in the world, because she's just a girl in the world. Why won't they let her be? So it was in November 2020 that a brother of William Leslie Arnold, so a surviving brother, who lived in Missouri, he did a DNA test. And in August 2022, a man in Australia was trying to learn about his father, who he knows as John Vincent Damon, and he only knew his father as an orphan from Chicago, and he probably really wanted to get to know his dad and know his history, know his heritage, and learn more about what made his father tick, because to him, this person was the perfect father. This is how he's described. That's all they want to say. They don't want to make another statement, but they just want to say that he was a great dad. So Matt Westover, the US Marshal, had to tell this person, because there was the match made, okay? And he had to tell this person over a video call, your father is an escaped convicted convict who was in prison for killing his parents. Can you imagine that call? Can you imagine that call? You know, this guy, he just looks, wow, I mean, just regular 50s kid in that sort of way where they look so much like young but old at the time for his age, right? It's hard to describe, but you probably know what I mean. Look up his photo. He's 5'7", 130 pounds, sort of, you know, this classic sort of Gamine build, I guess, crossover. Lean but broad shoulders, just, you know, handsome enough. Just kind of this sulkiness to his face. I guess he's been arrested. The sticky out ears, but you know, the haircut, the jeans, the shirt. Just this typical end of the 60s kid. And I wonder if the era of the 60s has helped him, you know, I don't know, the way things were. They were, you know, you didn't have to be so documented. People took you more in your word. You could just build a life up from, you know, just going in and a handshake and starting a job. It's just so wow. But anyway, so it's just so, there's a guy that, you know, was successful in becoming a fugitive, and he didn't go on to lead, you know, this kind of bizarre, crazy life where it's discovered how criminal he was or anything. He just spent his life probably in fear, but and a lot of it probably maybe, I mean, who knows why when you're still reasonably young, 24, 25 maybe, 20, 23, 24, 25, when you are marrying an older woman who has 3 children already. I mean, that's a move, isn't it? That's a move, you know, to have that level of safety. Maybe she had somewhere to stay, and it gave him this, oh, I'm not an escaped convict. I'm just a family man, right? And then the divorce, remarry, have his own children. Those children, 2 children, he took with him, the whole family. They emigrated into Australia, and, you know, he's just reinvented himself yet again. It's something Leteica Hardin, for all her fantasy, would never be able to do. She's got the finesse of, you know, a John Deere tractor, and actually that's been cruel to those engineering marvels. Yeah, so I just wanted to mention that little story, which was, of John Vincent Damon, who is laid to rest at quite an early age. I wonder why he died so early, why he passed away at 69. Was it an accident? Was it because of who he was in his life and his past? Did he live in a way that was hard, even though he lived in a way that was good? This kid from the 50s is probably a heavy smoker. Maybe he died of lung cancer. And he's laid to rest in just a beautiful place, leaving a grieving wife and 2 children who love him and who cared for him so much that they couldn't just abandon him into the soil without wanting to know more about him. And it's just the juxtaposition between, you know, we've had to learn so much about Leteica Hardin, you know, not what she's lived through and what her life's been, but just who she is, the revolting person that she is. That's what we've learned. And I don't want to know anymore. I don't want to know any truths about anything about her. I want her just to rot. And her daughter Harley Hardin wants her to rot. And I hope she reconnects with Al and realizes that she still has family, her new partner's family. Who knows how that'll go? I mean, they're young, but that could be a forever thing. And they're probably welcoming her with open arms and making her feel safe and giving her the feeling of a real, true family for the first time in her 21 years. But, you know, this person who in, this moment, I mean, it's kind of a similar thing, right? I'm displeased with something that you've done and I'm taking your lives away. But that's someone I want to know more about, not less. I want to know about this person, what his life was before he killed his parents because he wasn't able to take the car out. Was he drinking? Was he smoking weed? Was he always reactive like that? Who were his parents? Were they genteel? Were they hardcore? You want to know more about someone that's left that legacy where people really care. And even though Albert and Landon can express, you know, that they had love for Leteica, you know, this person's children truly loved him and wanted to uncover his life and some meaning around him. He really meant something to them in a really meaningful way. And what Leteica's done to people is mean something, yes, sure, in a meaningful way, but only for what she's taken away and not for what she's given. And yeah, so I just thought I would tell you about that. It's just a current story flying around the world again now because it's, you know, something that's an age-old mystery. It's been the subject of interest in the true crime community for a while, and it's solved by DNA, which is, you know, which is interesting. Whatever you think about DNA and how it can be misused and everything, I mean, I'd like to know more about my heritage, but I kind of don't want to add to the weaponry. Yeah, so yeah, William Leslie Arnold dying as John Vincent Damon, just down the road from me, kind of. And just the entirely different legacies that they've left, even though he and Hardin committed murder, and of people that were the closest to them. And, you know, it's such a great sacrilege and everything. Yeah, what do you think Leteica Hardin would have made of her life on the run? She wouldn't have had people seeking to understand her more in that regard, wanting to honor her. No, she never would have made it very far because she's an abominable creature. And yes, okay, she might have some intelligence, but she's actually as thick as two short planks, And so many things get in the way for her. They get in the way of her being able to achieve the things that she wants in life for longer than any short period of time, don't they? Oh, hey. Hi, Tracy. Oh, Tracy, look, I have to apologize right now. My videos, especially of late, have been of such low caliber. I'm so sorry to anyone that is subscribed and actually watching. Yeah, today I was just telling a story about this person who was a fugitive from the 60s. He committed a crime in the 50s. He shot his parents. He was a 16-year-old boy, and he ended up in Australia and buried just down the road from me in a beautiful spot called Mount Tambourine. And the mystery of his life has been solved by DNA. And it's just funny to... Oh, thank you. It's just funny, isn't it, to consider, you know, these things, to consider what someone who, you know, he gave himself a second chance. I mean, he went to prison and was a model prisoner, and then he escaped when he had the opportunity, and he gave himself a second chance. And for all intents and purposes, I guess you could say that he had a successful life after that, that he really did achieve something that proved more character, and that he had character, that he could dig deeper. I mean, perhaps it was all because it was his mask and everything, but I would truly think that people that are so... that are messed up to a certain degree, there's always that mask being yanked off. And yeah, what you know, I recorded this. I took Carnivore Dog out earlier and went for quite a big walk for him, I guess, and we walked around some fields, and he fell into part... Oh, it was funny. He walked down a little track and just fell into the creek in a deep bit where, you know, because the landscape's changed there, and it's like a, it's kind of like a little swimming pool in its construction, where he just plopped in, and it's so cute. But the video itself is, it's just this big rant about, you know, Dr. Lewis. Yeah, I hope they make that HBO special or a Netflix documentary. I hope that they, yeah, I hope she gets her wish, sort of thing. But it's just so long-winded. It's so windbaggy and everything. And then I talk a little bit again about Audrey Baratario and everything, because I wanted to try and just roll those opinions into something a little bit more succinct. And then, of course, it rolled over into a second part, because my video's cut off at 30 minutes and it starts recording again sometimes. And but I don't know if I should upload it, but I might try and edit Carnivore Dog. Why am I telling everyone this? Because it just looks so cute. He just, yeah, and he was wearing a little jumper and he couldn't get out, and I'm like having to take my shoes off, throw them over. They fell into the creek. I had to jump over onto a bit of concrete and then pull him out. He's all right. You know, a little adventure for the little boy. Now he's out there, you know, just doing stress relief, having a nice raw meaty bone. Always remember, just help your dogs lower their emotional cup, you know, get their stress levels down, having enough sleep, chewing on something, raw meaty bones, you know, off the leash walks, which is what we did with me and Carnivore Dog just before. Yeah, just to help and settle their minds and feel a little bit more anywho, yeah, that was just what I wanted to say. I just, you know, it just there's so much to make you laugh and, you know, scoff at, I should say, when it comes to Leteica. I mean, we all probably, I mean, we're not surprised at what we've witnessed, right? Really, all that came out you know, we knew what we thought was quite a lot, right? Didn't we? We didn't know the extent to it. Al was working Leteica to try and find what he probably knew was going to be the body of his son. And we didn't know the extent of those texts, but we had a list, 20 or 30 searches. And she's just such a joke. Face transplant, plastic surgery near me, new identity. I need a new social security number. I mean, the woman is, for someone so intelligent, I mean, maybe it can be all chalked up to, you know, that stress and the pressure of her situation and everything, and being in a manic episode. I mean, I think we probably could chalk a lot of it up to mania and a manic episode. But just wow. Yeah, Dr. Lewis. What a fool. What a fraud. You know, she's a woman that decided to, well, you know, because academia, research, you know, that's where she wanted to live, isn't it? And so, well, you've got to create something for yourself. You need to become a specialist. And then Tracy has 3 dogs and they're wonderful. I'm so happy to have caught alive. Yes, the trial was just terrific. The statements they made today were so sad. She is a joke. Oh, man. I mean, Landon always speaks with such clarity and such passion. And, you know, just really brought it again today. It was perfect what Al said too. And, you know, really rubbing it in, you know, hey, I met Leteica and she was beautiful. And yes, intelligent, as people have said. And she worked in an industry or in a sector that I admired because it meant something, because she was contributing in a way that was so valuable. And she was great, you know, which is just perfect. It just smooshes her face in it. And yeah, so chef's kiss. And when she wakes up to her kosher meal, yeah. She'll be in maximum security prisons. She will be in solitary confinement. No one's going to give a shit about her shenanigans. Tracy says, okay, so I'm not trying to be rude, but Dr. T isn't that smart. She couldn't even form a sentence. She threw away the most wonderful gift. Yeah, she couldn't communicate very well. I think when, you know, you're under pressure and manic, but you could see at times there were instances where, you know, she has more control of her thoughts, but what she lacks is a perspective, and that she just lacks perspective. And when you don't have empathy, you're not truly understanding how other people are perceiving you. You learn to manipulate people on the surface and bully people, but you can easily delude yourself, or even not even realize, or not even care how you're truly thought of. And, you know, she thinks she's just so crafty and cunning, doesn't she? I'm just going to have some fluid. Yeah. Hear my dog panting away. Yeah, I mean, yeah, bright. I mean, intelligence is really a really bizarre thing. when she's not able to think logically or analyze things clearly, I mean, I don't know how high she would score. She's definitely low on the EQ, although, you know, she can manipulate people, but I think it's more through bullying and through more of that bluster where people give her the benefit of the doubt. And, you know, if you've ever gone to answer questions in like the Mensa questions or any IQ form, or even, you know, anything that you find on the net, it wouldn't have to necessarily be presented to you by a psychiatric doctor, but, you know, just for you to get a handle on what sort of questions. She doesn't seem to be too concerned about detail or pattern. I mean, she makes sure there's sort of some themes and some dots and everything that are joining. Did my Wi-Fi, did I buffer just then? West Coast 90s. West Coast 90s sounds like a lot of fun. Are you West Coast, or is that like California? And because the 90s was a penultimate decade that just contained everything that was juicy and good and, you know, free and fun and in life. Yeah. So it would be interesting to see in Letitia's different emotional phases, I guess, or personality disorder phases, and when she's stabilized, how would she perform on an intelligence quotients test, and how would she perform on emotional quotient, is that what you call it, EQ tests? It'd be interesting. I think there's one thing to be able to plan and plot and scheme, isn't there? I mean, and another to actually want to put it into practice or actually use it. In that regard, I mean, I would be a freaking idiot, and, you know, and I'm always the sucker. Or naive, you know, even though through experience in life and everything, yeah, I feel like I can really pick things now, right? Maybe I'm just getting more and more opinionated, and it's just as you get older, you become the grumpy old woman. I don't know. You become less likely to debate your views. I don't know. I try to be open-minded. I was trying to be open-minded about Dr. What now? Lewis. And before the trial began, well before, when we first learned that Dr. Lewis was assessing Leteica Hardin, I was like, oh, this is going to suck. I mean, this doctor's a freak. She's crazy. She's loco. I don't trust her. She's unreliable. She seems demented. She has a severe disregard for victims. You know, we've talked about this, haven't we? Because it's so glaring that Gannon was that boy and Gannon was the demon. You know, this is just so disrespectful of Dr. Lewis to Gannon and to all of his family and friends and the community that cared for him and supported them, you know, the family, and tried to find him. And she's beyond Fruit Loop. I really think she's a covert narcissist. I know a lot of people are saying this, but I really think she has to be. And this is what I was just saying before, Tracy, before I started saying hi to you, was, Dr. Lewis, people that they create their own worlds, don't they? And they want to live in a world, and plenty of people do this. It depends how they do it though, right? They don't all do it in this manner by fraud, okay? Well, there is a certain group of people that do, okay? So this might be people that create these huge life coaching businesses, right? Now, they've never, it's cult-like, and they're manipulative, and they take people's money. But, then there's people that they want to stay in research. They just need to discover new ways that they need to interpret findings and new things, and find some value and sell that on, and so that they can, I don't know, it's so cloistered. It's nearly like I don't know. I've had negative thoughts, which I shouldn't think so negatively about people like scientists, perhaps, who say work for NASA, who depend on funding. They depend on funding so that they can have their projects, so that they have an income, because they're so specialized, they're so specialist. And what else could they do is aeronautical engineers and everything, right? And there's people with such specialist knowledge and information, and all they could do is work for NASA. So, of course, maybe when you send a little robot to the moon, to Mars, maybe it should crash. Maybe, we should have just programmed something a little bit differently with the camera on that little robot that's going around Mars, because dang, look, if we could just have another $30 million, team of 20, 5 years, we are going to propel America forward. We will be, did you, you did hear, did you, that China has landed on the moon? Manned. Yeah. They're not gonna, we won't be seeing that footage, maybe because it is coming out of China, who knows. You know about TikTok, right? So TikTok, it's from China. And hello, darling. How are you, Di? You okay? It's nice to see you. I'm saying nothing. I don't know. But TikTok, while Americans are doing twerking, and that, China, their TikTok is, hey, look at our amazing physical aptitude. See how we march, 10,000 of us. Look what I can lift. Look how brainy I am. Look at my achievements. Look at the musical instruments that I can play with such heavenly gift, Yeah, we are getting the bad juju out of Leteica. We're having a casting. Have you been following Laurie Vello, anyone? Probably. Let's call her Laurie Cox, because we definitely know that Leteica is Leteica Hardin from now on, right? And I hate to call Laurie Vello. I will sometimes call her Daybell, but I usually call her Laurie Cox. Yeah. Oh, this is so random. What's my dog doing? Yeah, it's so random. But, we're just saying, is Leteica intelligent? There are different types of smarts. She's manipulative. She's ballsy. She's got front, right? She's got front, and she's got an away with things that way her whole life, and of course her sexuality, which is, frankly, that's how she won Albert over, and how she did keep him hooked, at least for 2 years of their relationship, I would say. And and men will stay with crazy, and they will stay with mean, when there's sexual attraction. It's just truth of the matter. Yeah. And I think people are being honest and still how they feel about Al, and that he was flawed and they don't feel it was right. The situation that he was in when he was leaving, because I think he did know. I think he did know how troubled Leteica was. I mean, Leteica, we know, right? She was freaking the fuck out because she knew she was exposed, her fake credentials, and she knew she wasn't going to have an income to be able to get away. She wasn't going to have her husband any longer. I mean, she was sending him sexy texts, and my husband doesn't respond. She knew she had lost everything. To someone with borderline personality disorder, it's like everything in the universe. It's just all, you lose control of everything. Nothing has meaning if you are not in control, and you're losing things. And Tracy says, once Leteica's in prison, there will be someone so much more manipulative. She will meet her match. Oh, yes, she will. Hey, Mel Mac, how are you? I guess we're kind of having a debriefing. I actually, I was just, because I was walking carnivore dog before Mel Mac, and I did make a video about Lewis and everything. And then I thought, well, oh God, I'm not even going to upload it. It'll probably take hours. And then I thought, well, there was part of the things we found out about T and her searches, her desperate searches, that I couldn't get out of my mind. I mean, it's just so batshit, right? But I was thinking, what if Leteica managed, because she's so ballsy. I mean, she probably truly thought that she could do it. Look at what she had achieved so far in, the 47 days before, on the 48th or whatever, she was arrested. Look at what she achieved. She managed to escape out of state. She had been in the clutches of law enforcement kind of a bit, and then, and she'd escaped away from the state. She had taken Gannon, had gone through all of the things that she did to that little boy. She had discarded him. She was probably thinking he was in the Gulf of Mexico, and then this stupid wench is searching face transplant, social security number, plastic surgery near me, and all this stuff, right? How do I make a getaway? She'd probably Google something like, oh yeah, well, you know how ridiculous, right? And can you imagine? I mean, she's so ludicrous to think that she could live as a fugitive. She just doesn't have the skill set that she thinks. She has got a skill set. It's a skill set that was only ever going to end her up in prison, probably. I mean, fake Polly and those phone calls. I mean, see, people talk about her intelligence, but I think we have to write it off as mania and as fear and as this just as her personality disorder that was just dissolving everything rational in her, because to be calling that company and to not fucking get it, right? For a bright woman, she's not fucking getting how glaringly obvious she is at every single thing that she's doing. And they are blatantly telling her, well, I can't give you these results. You are asking questions as if you've committed murder. And I think they probably did do a little bit of a McGoogly, and they probably knew exactly who she was. I wonder if they contacted law enforcement. Does anyone remember? But, you know, so how is this an intelligent person? We have to think that this is when she's just sort of, you know, in a fugue of derangement, because no doubt she was in plenty of fugues of derangement and suffering some semblance of psychosis, sure. But, you know, the Colorado law, Dr. What Now, is very clear that crimes of passion through anger, rage, resentment, etc., you know, revenge, don't count. And it was interesting, you know, Jules, who knows a lot more about things, you know, of Another Day in the Car, was saying, a diagnosis of antisocial personality disorder, of which I would believe Leteica, let's just say her name wrong, oh God, I hate that pronunciation, Leteica Hardin, would be a type 2, I would say, which is sociopath. You know, they tend to leave a string of, you know, car crashes, shoplifting, whatever it is, right? Grifting, you know, faking their resume, just stuff like that, right? Whereas psychopaths, the type 1, might not tend to be criminally minded, but they can be manipulative and they can use people, and they can really laser focus on the people that are useful and the people that are not. And, you know, there's that empathy thing there that is lacking in the sociopaths as well, but it's used differently. There's a lack of self-control with the type 2s. Yeah, I probably don't have really much more to say, but I mean, do you mind if I go and get a little bit more water? Do you guys want to wait for 3 seconds? It'll be 3 seconds. Melmac, did you know, that carnivore dog, he's got a carcinoma in his eye, and he has to have an operation where he'll be put there's a vehicle outside, and carnivore dog is letting them know that he's I'm here, don't you come near me. He's got a little guard boy. Yeah, he's beautiful when he's out and about, but nobody wants to come anywhere near our property because he doesn't like it. No, so he's got a carcinoma in his eye. I noticed that, I don't know, one day it was just like, because, you know, because he's old, and like he and I both get hay fevery, or, you know, just these allergies and things, and Brisbane is really, it's like just this big sphere of pollen and grasses and things like that. And so, you know, I usually just wipe his eyes in the morning, or just check that he doesn't need his eyes wiped in the morning. And then one day I just saw there's this red, it sort of looked like tissue, red tissue or mucus, but it wouldn't wipe away, you know. And I had a girlfriend staying up from Sydney at the time, so I don't know if I should have waited or not. I wasn't quite sure what was going on, but I had some drops because I thought, I don't know, I just thought it was just his age, and he had sort of, you know, old roomy eyes sort of things, but it didn't quite look right. And then when my friend went home, I took him to the vet, and yeah, they put stain in his eye, and at least it's not ulcerated, but there's a carcinoma growing in his eye, and he's got to have it burned off. So he's got to go under, and he's never been put under since he was at the RSPCA, because he was born there, and when they would have given him the snip snop. So, you know, he's had staples in his dew claw because, you know, he cut it on some oyster shells, and he got degloved by a golden spur-winged plover. So did his his step-sister, my step-doctor, had the same injury before him. We couldn't work out what did it, and then Rocky got degloved, but, you know, there were the birds swooping, and worked out that, yeah, they're a contact bird. So he's had that stitched up, but of course none of it is being put under with anesthetic, and I'm just really, yeah, really panicky about it. And the main thing is too, I want to be there to just be in the room while they're doing that and just putting him under, but I don't think they're going to let me, and it's going to be so frightening for him because he needs me to be with him in these frightening situations because of his trauma. It's not like dogs sit around and ruminate about their trauma in the way that a human being can do. You know, if you haven't been through a lot of therapy maybe, but they, you know, they have their triggers, and his is when he is into a room and things are going to be done. I mean, he spent years of his life in cages and being moved around in all these scary places and hearing all these scary things, and, you know, so it's so triggering for him even, you know, 11 years later sort of thing. And yeah, so I don't know if the veterinary person is going to let me. I'm going to just see, I'm just going to ask if I can be there. I just need to be holding him and holding his little head, and, you know, I know they won't like people being there because, you know, you're the human that is freaking out because you're seeing, you know, needles and catheters going into veins, and then it's pressure for them. What if they fuck it up, you know? But I can do it for carnivore dog. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to ask Mel Mac, is just please understand his history, his trauma, and it'll be better for them, you know. So yeah, I have to book that in soon for him. Yeah. Anywho, yeah. So, well, his teeth. I mean, his teeth. There's a little bit of staining and everything. So, but he doesn't have tooth decay or anything. I mean, he eats his bones. He's out there eating he's been out there eating a meaty bone. His teeth are pretty good, especially considering he'll be 14 in September. I clip his nails, even though the first time I did them after I got him, I don't know how it happened. But yeah, boom, blood running out. Oh, just picked him up, ran down, threw him in the car, took him down to the vet. And yeah, they put the little styptic powder. I didn't know to have that. So yeah, it's been difficult for 10 years to cut his nails, but I cut his nails. But yeah, I might step up treatment that he has for arthritis and everything, and maybe get them to give an arthritis injection. Yeah, so I'm going to have to book it soon, probably in the next week or two. Yeah, I need to do it soon. I've just been thinking, should I? Oh, look, this is probably a no-brainer for people. They'd go up to this specialist, this big clinic where there's ophthalmologists and everything. But you know, the vets where I do go, I mean, they are highly trained. They do have the right equipment, and it should be a simple thing. And the thing is, too, burning it off, you know, okay, an ophthalmologist might say, oh, well, we'll do this instead because, you know, it could grow back. I mean, he's nearly 14. If it's going to grow back, if it's been growing for how long, if it does grow back, well, what are the chances that it'll bug him before, oh, you know, that sounds so noir, so dark, but I don't mean it that way, but you know, and then it selfishly, it's a lot more simple for me not to take him for another consult, not to go further away, not to have so much more planning. He'll be very close by. I can get him home easily and whenever he's ready and all of that. High cement shoes. I was probably at the end about a half an hour ago, wasn't I, guys? But we've just been having, I guess we've had a little download about Ms. Hardin. Yeah. Let me just have my fluid. Yeah, so he's been having this this ointment in his eye, which actually buffers everything for him in his eye. But yeah, I should just hurry up and make a decision about where he goes. I think I am just going to book him into the people that have already examined him and that are close by and everything. And I hope it's the right decision. Amazon. Are you from Minneapolis, Minnesota? I love the sound of those words. Are they Aboriginal American words? Minneapolis, Minnesota? I'm not. Oh, are you asking someone else maybe anyway? Yeah. Isn't it funny? Like, so we knew that, you know, the jury, they still had to come back in and then they could still go out and deliberate. And when we learned that they were asking to see the evidence records and everything, etc., we knew, okay, we've got more time, you know, but I don't know why, but I should have gone to sleep and then woken up again. And then, so I fell asleep for the actual verdict. I still want to play that. Well, I think that was replayed. But when I woke up and got back onto Jules's Another Day in the Car stream, I felt nothing. It was just like I'd said to someone, "Oh, did you pick up the milk?" And they'd said yes. Or well, actually, I felt less. It was I felt no surprise, and I couldn't feel any more emotion. I didn't, you know, and I never want to feel fake emotion for victims because I don't want to appropriate anyone's grief. My interest comes from, how do these things happen? When can we stop them? and what happens after, you know, the injustice for people and making things right and ensuring people pay, and, you know, the system and its flaws and its foibles and its downfalls, or its things where it succeeds, and you know, the impact on humans and how humans act, the decisions they make, and those sliding door moments that just change lives all throughout our universe every moment. And, you know, so I never want to appropriate anyone's pain or grief or anything like that, but not to say that I don't get quite emotional about things sometimes, and sometimes I do that when I'm making videos. But yeah, it was so bizarre. I felt it was just like, I think because I just I don't want to say confidence, that I had confidence or anything. It's just I felt like I already knew liable, guilty, that the jury would find her so. I always thought it was a good thing that they were deliberating properly, and that they were paying attention, and that they were doing due diligence. And I feel like that wasn't done in the Alec murder case, and I feel like there are reasons that can I say mofo? I don't know. I mean, I don't know him. He seems like one. I think he's just gonna appeal, right? And he's not abandoned by his whānau, his family, his community. Well, okay, maybe he's got Buster. And he will appeal. I mean, he might have grounds for it. I don't know that reasonable doubt was reached, and I think the jury, in their snap decision, as if they had already decided. I mean, I think, you know, they've got a duty to the rest of humanity, to the community, to the state, to the law that is based on human values that we all agree on. They have a responsibility to review the evidence, the materials, to not just walk into a room and say, yeah, the fuck is screwed. Because they are there to uphold the law, well, to make a decision on the law, and they're not experts. They are lay people. They are our neighbors. They are people in our community, the human beings that are just charged with this job, and they have an obligation, ethical obligation, moral obligation, legal obligation, this is in my opinion, to actually go and review and discuss. And I hope to hell that Alec murder hasn't been, you know, had this door left open for him. Does that make sense? You know, for his appeal, because of how quickly they came back, when so many things could be argued against being reasonable doubt. Even the lie about being there, you know, I mean, that, yeah, sure, that was a nail in his prison coffin, I guess. But so Tracy was putting her grandson to bed. Does your grandson live with you, Tracy? Or are you grandmother at times? Or Melmac, it's 1:53 a.m. Got to sleep. Trust your instincts about your beloved carnivore fur family. Thank you, darling. Yeah, get some sleep. We have had so many. Well, I mean, I have every time a trial's on, and there's several at the moment, 2 that I've been following. Yeah, it's just you just spend a lot of sleepless nights, don't you? And then, you know, try and find some naps in the morning, Melmac. I mean, you know, tomorrow afternoon. Sorry, honey. Try and have a nap if you can. I don't know what your schedule's like, but if you can never get a nap, they're so brilliant. I just had a nap before, and yeah. But thank you for your thoughts, and yeah, I'll see you around the traps. Yeah, thanks for dropping in. Appreciate it. Oh. That is so blessed. Tracy's got 9 grandkids living right next door. I mean, that sounds kind of bonkers. But, yeah. It's funny, you know, like, I would love to be a grandparent. I won't have the opportunity, but my parents are so, oh, I mean, the stress that they feel. I mean, they love it. They wouldn't, you know, they don't want to waste a second because they're so aware how precious every second of their life is, and then they're moving into their 80s now and everything, but they are run ragged by some very bright, demanding, intelligent, talented, spoiled, can I say, younger grandchildren that they have nearby to them at the moment. But, you know, of course, every second that they can get, and it's a gift to the grandchildren, isn't it? But, you know, the pressure, because heaven forbid if something happens when they're in your care, sort of thing, you know. I think yeah, you're not blasé when you're grandparents, although, you know, what's the case now? This is a really dark case that I think this woman is I think she's evil. The grandmother who was looking after a toddler, and her daughter's son, firstborn son, I think he might have been 18 months, a couple of years old, and she says that she was tired. She'd fallen asleep on the sofa. He'd gotten out of one of the doors of the home and had drowned in a waterway behind her house. And, you know, it wasn't until much later that she raised the alarm, and this little boy was found. And her daughter couldn't trust her. Had a new child, a new precious daughter, but there was so much healing to be done. But, you know, wanted to love her mother, wanted to believe in an accident. And so when this precious baby, 9 months old, was left with the grandmother, because I think perhaps the daughter did want to go and get a haircut. I mean, maybe, you know, just have some me time, finally experience some me time. I mean, a lot, my sister she works as, she has her own firm. She works so hard. She would never go and pamper herself and everything. Everything's for the family, the children, you know, the teenage children now and everything, right? And, you know, when you're a young parent or a busy parent, I mean, certain things aren't prioritized sometimes, you know. And so this mother probably wanted to repair her relationship with with the child's grandmother, with her own mother, give her a chance, and maybe thought, well, this will be safe, and I'll go and get my hair done. It's for a short time. my mother's just going out to lunch with friends, so her and my baby will be with my mother's friends, so they'll be there to say, hey, you know, so there'll be all this reminder that she's got my daughter. So anywho, this 9-month-old child is left in the car in Florida, left in the car while the grandmother goes inside the house, sits down at her piano. So she parks her car in the internal garage of the home and goes inside and plays the piano for hours, probably just to drown out any screams in case her husband hears, because the husband's home, but no one's aware that the husband was aware that the grandmother was having the granddaughter. The daughter should have told, but maybe she expected that the grandmother might say, I'm getting our granddaughter today. I'm taking her to lunch. This is an amazing day. This is actually something that I will never forget because it is such a privilege and a gift. Oh, no. So she goes inside and plays piano for hours, and the child dies in the car. The grandfather has to try to revive the child, call 911 and everything. I think this human being, you know, this meat locker for whatever's inside a person that can do that. I think she's in prison now. It does. Cement shoes. Wow. You know, you're nailing it, because this is where fairy tales come from. They are warnings. They're warnings about different parts of our psyche, things that have existed in humankind forever. You know, human beings, apart from, Homo sapiens are a conglomeration of various hominid races, but our closest living relatives are the bonobo, and the bonobo are known as the most empathetic, altruistic of, you know, the apes. And human beings, Homo sapiens, our natural instinct is the same as for most other life forms, or every other life form, you know, not to kill self. That is unnatural. It's to protect life, you know, or to protect those around us. Not saying that war is kind of this expression of that, right? When you are protecting genes, right? Protecting yours, and it's another digression to say, well, women are actually often the ones that start the wars, but it is unnatural. It's not normal, but it is something that is recognized, and it is expressed in all sorts of fables and stories, isn't it? Medusa and Oedipus and Narcissist and all of the tales, and Grimm and Hans Christian Andersen. They are telling us about our psyche and what to look for, and they are telling us the truth. The big bad wolf, the big bad wolf, grandfather in your bed. You know, these things can happen, and they are warnings. They're warnings simply about these, 100-year cycles of these epidemics that will hit the world. Ring a rosy, a pocket full of posy, a tissue will all fall down because we've got the Black Plague. Tracy has heard about that lady. I can't remember any of their names, and this is terrible. I feel like I should at least remember. Sorry, can you hear how croaky I am? I really need to try to drink much more water than I have. I've been very unwell with my kidney. I have chronic kidney disease, and the function is right down. and it makes me very exhausted. And if you can hear a croaky voice, that is very, very naughty. So I have to keep hydrated. I'm going to just get some more water. It's all right if everyone wants to go. But I want to talk about something. It's just thematic with what we're talking about. I find these things interesting. I'll be 3 secs. Sorry, thanks. I love it. I love it when people are on my vibe or on my train or whatever. What do you call it? On the track? Because that's how I think about it. You know, that's what I think when I hear these stories as well, and the way that you know they are. What are they? Is it tropes, or they are archetypes, or they are whatever it is. I mean, that's exactly what it is, right? And it's exactly what you're warned about, right? And I find these things that slip into reality really interesting. Like I know it can all be quinky dinks and everything, right? But I think it's a collective consciousness thing. I think it's whatever this universe is. I think there's something to it. When you've got, for example, Cement, just close the screen of your phone so that you're not getting the light, and just turn the volume down and put it under your pillow or something, and just yeah. And but thank you for staying in. Bless you. I appreciate you so much. The McCanns. Okay, so the McCanns and all the rigmarole that goes on every year, okay, with the McCanns. And the recent round was Christian Bruckner, right? But guess who this state attorney is in Germany that was pursuing, probably, I mean, who knows why? Is he a psychopath? Is he spurred on to do it by something, or for career, for a name? I mean, I just think I don't know why. But guess what his name was? Hans Christian Wolters. And I can't get past the Hans Christian Andersen parallels and everything, right? These things, that's just the sort of thing that just, I hear it and I feel it instantly. It's like, you know, there's people that see colors when they hear music. Oh, look at the light that just went like that. Should I try that again? Now I'm being a bonobo. Oh, the screen didn't go. It must have been that. Must have been the screen. Let's be logical. I'm trying to type the word in twice, and it's automatically changed it twice too. And oh my god, auto type. It's called, you know how it's supposed to be predictive text or something. I just call it presumptive text. It is fucking presumptive. It just will presume things about what you want to say. And it's so hard, and I don't have the patience. And you're trying to respond. I don't have the patience on my phone to correct anything. Or sometimes you don't even see it, or you don't notice that presumptive text has changed things to make absolutely no sense. It's so annoying, and I have so little patience for going in and making sure that I change settings and do all the things that you could do that make life easier for you and everyone else. If I'm typing on a keyboard, I have schmick typing, and I can be so much more eloquent and say what I mean and mean what I say. But yeah, on phones, it's so agitating. I had a BlackBerry at one point, because a company I worked for, that's what we used as our smart devices. initially, and oh man, I love typing on that thing. They've got QWERTY keyboards, and it was just, remember the raised keys, and you press it one way or the other. Anyway, type so fast and without mistake. But these, when you're trying to just, a tip is actually you can use your finger and just slide it over your keyboard and get the words, and that way can be better than trying to tap, tap, tap. So yeah, try that out, Cement, and see how it goes. Yeah, so maybe I haven't done one of this type of videos for a long while. I think the last time when I talked about the 7 deadly sins, and I thought, let's look at the 7 deadly sins. And was it Chad and Laurie or just Laurie? But maybe let's look at fairy tales. Let's look at these archetypes. Let's look at the messages. I mean, I did read, made a recording out of a book by this person called Lauren, Loren Pedersen, who wrote this book called Dark Hearts, getting into, the psyche of men. And I've read some of that book, just having Chad DeBell, you can ring my bell, ring the bell. Yeah, Laurie was right. Laurie, yeah. Chad, Laurie's not ringing your bell ever again. Laurie, I can see being very manipulative in prison. And, a lot of women, when they go to prison, they do explore their sexuality. It's it's a companionship thing. It's probably is a sexual thing as well, but it's it's a safety thing. It's complex. It's friendship. It's having someone there for you, and they it's a thing. I'm not sure if it's as much of a thing with men. What the percentage would be of rape versus compliance and everything, but I can't see Chad doing that, although who knows. But I could see Leteica and Laurie having relationships in prison for sure. But that would be really, well, I mean, it would interest me to make a series even on, let's look at the fairy tales, let's look at what we're being told, what we're subliminally or sometimes, blatantly being told about the world, human nature, the worst of it, and pile some crimes that match underneath it. I mean, where would Jacqueline and Giselle West come in? Where would Summer Wells be placed? And her parents, Don and Candace and Candy. What would the situation be for Gannon and for Tylee and JJ, and I mean, yeah, and Madeline. I'm sure there's probably something throughout the ages for everyone. There's so much wisdom, and I feel like human beings are just throwing away. Okay, so we have gone from like population 1 billion to 8 billion in decades, right? In David Attenborough's career at the BBC, or is it in his lifetime? One or the other. We have gone in 100 years this industrial and technological revolution, right? But we're kind of devolving. Yes, darling? It's okay. But we're out of the golden age. We are, I feel like, have we gone past a tipping point where that's what I was starting to talk about before, was who human beings really are, what's really normal for us, what's natural. It's to protect, it's to preserve life, it's to preserve life and propagate life, and to observe our universe and learn from it and make it better for ourselves here on earth from what we observe. It's to learn to observe the weather systems and the star systems, and to work out how to survive. Everything is about survival. It's not about, I mean, it is the most unnatural thing to kill your offspring. Now, some creatures will do this in certain intense circumstances. There is a video on YouTube that infuriates me to the point where I need 5 seconds in the room with this person. Oh no, this isn't a threat. I mean, okay, is physical violence a slap? I don't know. A verbal lash then, okay? Let me explain it. Let me have some water. Oh, I feel like I need to hold my little Buddha and for this story. Just with a quick break to that though, Cement Shoes says, Laurie's looks have gone downhill like a Mack truck with no brakes. Yeah, the hydraulics are fucked. There's a thing called the jack brakes or the jack brakes in a truck. Yeah, and you know those, when you're going down a highway on a mountain and, the trucks lose control, possibly, and so, the construction people, the engineers and the constructionists, the road crews, they will build those stop hills where you can pull up if you lose control going down a mountain. Her looks are going downhill and there's no stop hill. There's no place where she can pull up and just hold this because there's no reversing that, right? And it's the same. I mean, aren't we? Isn't it smug satisfaction? It's not really nice, I guess. But yeah, Leteica, who I will call her from now on, even though it's Leteica, which is correct. Hardin, yeah, she, I think you take on in life who you are. The character shines through everything. Yeah. I think Laurie's heart shows on her face, doesn't it? Doesn't it, Cement? So true. And yeah, so animals and survival, right? It's okay. So I mean, creatures do amazing things, right? Down to just, you've got cuckoo birds who will put eggs in, say, a magpie's nest. The magpie will look after it. Well, that's, wow, that's using someone else's resources, isn't it? We can all, recognize how that goes on in the world. Although the cuckoo is actually known to check in and still go and feed that bird when the magpies aren't there. But it's kind of foster system, really, isn't it? But you've got, in nature, you have triage. That's where we get the word from. You go to an emergency department of a hospital and someone is in psychosis, someone's been in a car accident, someone needs some medication, someone else is having a heart attack, and of course, these triage nurses have to, that's what it's called, triage, when they're deciding who is seen in what order, and that they are making decisions about the survival as a whole. And that's what trees do. You'll see a tree and half of it is still green and beautiful, and the other half, they've cut off the supply because they could have been through drought, you know. So the tree will survive, but there were sacrifices made, and you know, I guess this happens quite sadly with runts of litters and things like that. Animal, you know, little babies that are pushed away. And I mean, there's also brutal things that happen when people are trying, I say people, but you know, creatures, animals, take genes of other animals out by killing offspring of rivals. But there's, you know, there's things that just happen because in a stress environment that the parent survives so that they can have more offspring. And the video I was going to talk about on YouTube, it's this, oh, people think, oh, you're so amazing, you're so nice to help. No, this guy's a buffhead fuckwit. So it's in the outback somewhere of Australia. This guy sees some kangaroos. Rather than let them go on their way, he starts racing alongside this little group of kangaroos who on his motorcycle. So they're freaking out. They're terrified. They are desperately bouncing harder and harder and harder and harder. Because the motorcycle, the threat, the hunter, the predator is right there. This noise and this motion, and they're trying to get away. And these aren't all these big alpha males. These are females with babies and teenagers, and it's just a regular little herd of kangaroos. And he thinks that a kangaroo drops out of a pouch. He goes, oh, I know. Revs down, pulls it, you know, oh, I think a baby fell out. Oh, I'm such a hero. He goes back and he gets it. And of course, he can't return it to its mother. But no, what happens is he forced that mother roo to throw the baby out of the pouch. That's what they do when they're threatened. They throw. There's that sacrifice. Here, the predator, don't take many, don't take us, take our young, take our weak. I mean, that's nature anyway, right? That's who gets caught by the lionesses, the old, elderly, the damaged, the diseased, you know, the slow, the sick, whatever, right? They're the ones that get caught. And that keeps things strong too, in a way. And it's just so infuriating that the lack of understanding that people have. They can't even think things through. They can't think to see that, yeah, oh, Diane, I mean, just, it's so thoughtless, right? It's so cruel. But he was just having a gay old time, right? What a macho man. He's just, there's that saying, there's two kinds of people in life, right? And you can say it about anything, right? Because, there's people that like Seinfeld, there's people that don't like Seinfeld. Two types of people in the world. But, there's types of people in the world that are so brainless and just so self-centered, or just maybe he just needed an education, right? And maybe he hadn't had it to that point, but for some it's a lot more natural. It's a lot more natural to have an empathy, like, oh shit, I'm out in an area where there's wild animals, and should I be doing this? He's just doing it for his own kicks. He's doing it because he's making a fucking YouTube video. Okay? He's live streaming it or something like that. Was it live? Or I don't know. He's seeing how fast and go, wow, look at them. Look what they're clocking. Yeah, they've never probably run as fast in their life as when they were being hunted down by what they saw as a fucking nightmare. And they offered up a little roo, offered up her baby. I mean, that is just fucking awful. They throw them out. They don't fall out. Sorry, they don't fall out. It's actually a phenomenon that has been recorded. We know about it. And lots of animals do this. And there's other things that animals do just before they might be caught. One of them is there's an animal called the springbok in South Africa. And so Cement Shoe says there's a movie called Wake in Fright. Is that an American movie? Is that what genre is that? Wake in Fright. It's there's a creature called the springbok. Now, lots of creatures do this, and lots of creatures have ways of avoiding being the one to die, or just surviving, having their species survive, or their babies survive, or them survive so that they can have more babies, But, because of course genes are important. It's not that, look, maybe that is what it was about for Leteica, right? She's like this female spider who, eating the young of others or something, so that her own young were there. But we know her own young only was there because it was a prop for her and to support her and to nourish her. But the springbok, they do this thing called pronk, okay? And you'll notice this. Yes. You'll notice this behavior in so many situations. It's called pronking. So the springbok's being chased down probably by the female lions, right? And just with their last energy, they will do, they are running and they're so graceful anyway, and their spindly legs. You've probably seen springbok skins around, right? It's just a thing. It's a thing that people that go to Africa, or they are South African, and they will, Wake in Fright, 1971 Australian film. Okay. I thought I had a good handle on some really old school Aussie films and New Zealand films. I'll look that up. I've probably seen it. That's interesting. Thanks. They've got the little, the moosey coloured, and then they've got the brown, and then the white spots and the little white tail. Anyway, and they're gorgeous, like little deer. But they will do this enormous leap that you would never think that they are capable of as a last-ditch effort to get away. It's called a pronk, yeah. And I guess it's that kind of mechanism, a mother just throwing out a baby in the hopes that this predator, this Australian dickhead who thinks he's Mad Max, in the hopes that, the predator will just take the baby, and the herd as a whole, she's got sisters there, brothers, other children in that herd maybe, right? And she's made the sacrifice. It's just fucked up. Anyway, so yeah, yes, I did write all over his YouTube video comments about that to try and educate people about what actually we were looking at. Gee, I'm a little bit riled up, aren't I? Yeah. Wake in Fright. New Zealand has a stellar film industry, Cement Shoes, as well, and has always made really wonderful independent films. And of course, a lot of really famous directors now are from New Zealand, but yeah. Dark psychological character study. Okay, I like that. Love those sort of films. yeah, so what I should write down is that we've got the idea now to explore myths and fables and, what they're trying to teach and what they're trying to warn about and who they warn you about. So, Hansel and Gretel and Red Riding Hood and these sort of modern day life stories of people that have I just think humanity is on the downhill slide, right? And this is, I guess, again, yes, what I was starting to say before is that, we have peaked with our, that classical, that philosophical era it just seems to be over, and we just are regressing. We are genetically breeding in more and more weaknesses. I don't want to say that, but breeding in more and more things that then, if with the wrong nurture, which people aren't getting, are going to lead to things. We are losing our empathy, the empathy that human beings inherently had. Okay, sure. Okay, we don't know why we ultimately won out over Denisovans and Neanderthals, and I'll think of the rest later. It could just be because where we managed to live in the world was more fruitful, and we were able to develop more brain power and think more strategically, or just survive better in weather systems, okay, and living near the equator. It doesn't have to be because we went and wiped out other hominids in a warlike manner. Well, that it was, would that be, it's not genocide, is it? What's racicide? No, what's speciesicide? I don't know. We do it a lot anyway. And yeah, those natural instincts, that altruism, and that got to survive as a group, not just as an individual, but a group. It's just going down the gurgler, and it's all about, we've seen this in Lewis, let alone Leteica. Me. The novels are it's always good to read the novels that films are based on, isn't it, Cement? I prefer to do that. Yeah. I don't know. How can we recover? How can we recover? It's very hard to have faith. Yeah. Isn't that funny? When I say faith, it just reminds me of, the I believe. Dr. Lewis thinks she's so smart. Once were warriors and heavenly creatures. So, yeah, fantastic films and quite different films. Have you seen, there's a Peter Weir film called Vigil. There's quite a different film again called Smash Palace. There's the piano, of course. There's and a lot of there's Whale Rider. These are all from different eras. yeah, Kiwis. Yeah, there's a sound with our music. There's a particular sound called the Dunedin sound. It's a South Island town where a lot of musos came from. They just created this sound. They really did. And there's such a flavour to fashion, and there's such a flocky knocky nihili pilification of not of finance, but of whatever anyone else is thinking anywhere in the world. At least we used to be like that. And we stand up for what we believe in. We march. We say, hey, no to nuclear submarines, and we will picket power plants. At least we did in my day. I can't tell you how many things that I marched for. I mean, as a child going around in 1981, and I was, what's the word? Because I didn't know that I was doing that at the time. What is it? Not rallying, but not rebelling. What's the word? Standing up against, I went around the neighbourhood handing out these Halt All Racist Tours pamphlets because I didn't want the Springbok to come and play. I didn't want New Zealand playing against the Springboks because their country was living with apartheid, and I didn't agree. What's that word? Anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, you can believe, Dr. Lewis, I believe. Dr. Lewis, just show us the data. Make us understand the empirical evidence. Where did you fact check? I mean, it's all just self-reporting, and you're standing there. No, well, you're being wheeled up there, and now you're sitting there, thinking orange is going to look good on your HBO special, which you're not going to have unless it's an expose. Saying Leteica chose 2 very violent men or abusive men as her husband. Revolutionary. No, when you're not rebelling, when you're picketing, you're marching against your, it'll come to me as soon as I press X. That's so, this is age. And I have had tinnitus my whole life and visual snow, and I am such a candidate because of these things. Modern science tells us for, yes, dementia and the forgetfulness for these work, not being able to just draw on things like this, right? Protesting! Oh, our honey Diane in Iowa. Thank you, honey. Protesting. I was protesting. I was in my little way protesting against the Springbok tour. Yeah. Thank you, Diane, because that would have driven me crazy. Clearly, Diane has more marbles intact than I have. Yes, I'm a candidate because this is they think now that the tinnitus, which Captain Kirk had, by the way, the actor, they think it's the neurons trying to fire and not getting anywhere. Sounds about right. So synapses are collapsing, maybe everything's failing, but there might be a way to cure it. Apparently, I don't know. Who do you believe? When you look things up and then suddenly you're getting ads for all sorts of treatments and stuffs. Yeah. But it's a 4. I often did I used to do this 4 years ago when I started was I always searching for words? Anyway, it's foreshadowing dementia, which I can certainly see is happening. Diane's a leftover hippie from the 70s, so she understands protesting. That's so beautiful. Yeah. Kiwis, I was shocked. I was shocked coming over to Australia from New Zealand because Kiwis just stand up for everything and just go, let's as a country decide, right? We don't have this sort of apathy, and I don't know if it's something to do with the states and the vastness or whatever. I don't know. I think that does have a difference in the way that Aboriginal peoples manage to negotiate, but that's another story. But yeah, just times change, don't they? And I feel that as a 52 now, I feel that I have lived in this very specific pocket of time, of history, to be connected to, a particular type of lifestyle and past, and to be trying to, and to be being forced to live in this particular type of present and future, and to have seen these so many interesting decades. And Diane even probably born 50s. Don't say if you don't want to, honey, but nearly you too. I mean, I feel like it's more maybe someone born 65 to 75, our Gen X generation. Are you Gen X, Diane? Sorry. You okay, baby? Yeah, okay. Yeah. 57. So, are you a goat? I'm a pig. I'm a pig, 71. Some people on here will know that I have Suzanne Morphew's birthday, although I'm a year older, I believe. 57. What's that song? Yeah. Because my parents were born, early mid 40s. So, I guess they're well and truly boomers. But yeah, what's in between the boomers and the X? Anything? Because that's a very interesting cusp that you're on there, Diane. That initial, okay, so, you've got people maybe trying to recover emotionally from the war, maybe people that are, well, what about Korea? When was that? Vietnam. But, you've got probably this bit of a slump coming back in, but this optimism because it's kind of a little bit forgotten, but probably quite hopeful yet conservative. Were you always in Iowa? Yeah, 57. So you were so in 77, sort of 78, you're coming, you're of age, independent. And that was, so punk. Were you a punk? And definitely punk still just just flew into the 80s. And the 80s were miraculous too. I think you can tell a lot by the music and all the different blends of everything. But the 90s seemed to be the last era where there was just everything goes and there's so many genres and everything. Anyway, gosh, I have been yakety yak for 1 hour 59 and 55 seconds. Yeah. But I'm going to write down, because I'm very forgetful. And actually what I should do is, instead of writing random things all over the internet and comment sections, when I have revelations or things that I think, whoa, just write them down and put them in my own video. So myths. Yeah, but yeah, myths and modern crimes. I would love to do a series on that. I'm not saying it's in depth or anything, but it's just like discussion points and things like that, where, you know, let's look at the stories and what we're, you know, trying to be, you know, what people have tried to teach us. Diane says, no, born in Missouri, moved to Illinois at a young age, then midlife crisis, went to Cali. Then, as only child, came to Iowa hospice parents. Came back to Iowa because your parents are in hospice or something, so now you're there. So you've moved around and you had some Californian dreaming. I do hope that was in the 70s. Or maybe not. Maybe not San Fran in the 70s. It probably wasn't a good place. Yeah. But, you know, people, you know, Diane's age, my age, but maybe, you know, I've had quite a limited experience, I guess. I've only lived in 2 countries and a few cities, you know, but especially if you've moved through America through these really major decades, I think just the insights, you know, but of course, oh my God, I mean, a few months ago, it happened. Yeah. 8-year-old children talking to each other saying, that old lady just, yeah, they were talking about me. You know, but children today, they have missed out. They're missing out. And we don't want to let them move forward into a world that doesn't have something that we had, right? We were free range, and sure, there were bad things that came out of the freeness, right? Because of course, you know, the serial killers could operate in their heyday because of, hey, the free love, the moving around, no one's keeping track. Whoa, you know, culture was going through this radical change, and that was, it was the leaf matter at the bottom of, you know, on the ground, wasn't it? It was just that food, that nourishment. It just created the environment that things could happen in, right? Before, and just in that perfect pocket of time when victimology, victims, lots of them, without the technology that we have now to, yeah, really track people and things, right? So, oh God, why are we so enthralled and fascinated with crime, with true crime, as we say? For so many reasons. A lot of people because they have been through suffering and abuse, the survivors. Some people because we're voyeurs, or we have specialist interests, whether it's psychology, maybe it's because of community, in the same way that people follow sports teams and things like that, you know, so many reasons. Emptiness sometimes, loneliness, but also all the good, you know, yeah, community, See that we have, and we know our channels, don't we? We know our people, right? And that's community and spirit and humanity. And we give all the same fucks. Central Coast, Santa Barbara, new Mustang. Haha, 2000. Oh my God. You would have been a magnificent beastess in your Mustang. So American, but in your prime, because women, I mean, yes, sure, it's actually whatever, prime, quite young actually, but 30s for everything. Already did hospice, both parents passed. I'm sorry, and now you're stage 4 COPD. This is breath, lungs, emphysema. And it's affordable where you are in Iowa, so you stayed. Dog, cats, birds, and you're okay. You are okay. You are. I love it. Please keep more in touch if you want to. Let me know what you're doing, what you're having for lunch. Yeah. So COPD, now I know that yeah, that's got to be quite scary, and emphysema is scary, and I'm sorry about that. I think it's so I don't know. I don't want anything to say. Anything I say is trite or wrong or anything, but I think it's so marvelous to have memories, isn't it? To when you have been someone that might have been a little bit, I mean, youth is not wasted on the young. Let's just say that. What a load of baloney, bollocks or whatever. Youth is not wasted on the young. Spontaneity is not wasted on the young. Stupidity is not wasted on the young. And it gives us our memories that we can hold on to, and just know that, we live, and it's like our little secrets. And it's very sad, because we can look at the youth now of today. There's 16 to 23-year-olds or whatever who should have been having some very free years of their life, and they haven't had it, and they are instead being groomed and manipulated by ideologues and predators, and simply sometimes are just frightened or isolated, or pressured and stressed. And not all of them have had parents that are capable of helping them through things like pandemics in the way that my sister and brothers have been able to help their own children. You were rowdy. Yeah. You and me both, Diane. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Wow. So I've got a video series idea. I'm not saying it'll be a series. It'll probably be me just saying, oh, let's think about this, and it relates to this. I'm really interested to do that, because we need to. I think we do need to rely more on historical. Now, I'm not talking necessarily Freud and things, but these sort of downturns in everything seem to occur after a certain period in time, right? It's like what happened to culture and what happened to discovery, and but anyway, but so all these stories, because now, can you imagine the modern stories as fables now? One day I woke up and I thought I wanted to be a dragon, and I wanted to be, you need to call me Poop. And that's how I had someone apply to work whose name was Hiccup. They'd taken it from, this is, oh, look, you do you, booze. But, you know, seriously, you want me to take you seriously? You think you got the goods? No. Your name's Hiccup. You chose that for yourself. You don't want to identify. This is what we've done. We, not us, but, you know, the we. This is what we've done is, you know, people don't want to be themselves. They don't know who they are. Something else is better. And sometimes they've got identities inside of identities inside of identities. So you've got trans people who also have other identities and other names and other they're this, and then they're an animal, and then, you know, no one can be themselves. And it's not just this exploratory thing that we had in, you know, certain areas that we've experienced. It's just this take care of me shit. It's this, you know, you better, right? You know, and you start getting people saying things like, you can't find me. I'm trans. You're not. You're queer, which is cool. It's okay. And actually what is happening is the generations now that, you know, our generation, Generation X, open-minded, welcoming, enveloping, whatever, you do you, powerful allies are being forced to become the TERFs because we just have to say no and no one else is. And we risk everything. We risk our livelihoods, our reputations, everything to say enough's enough. You know, because if you say one thing, you are a hater, you are phobic. It is not fucking the case. It's just, I care more about you than you care about you. That's nearly what it boils down to, right? Anyway, thank you everybody for coming in. Diane, Mel, Max, Cement Shoes, Amazon, Tracy, of course. Not that I ever have anyone to really, I mean, you are everyone, you are special, but I mean a lot, so that I can't flick through and just see everything. But if I miss you, very sorry. Thank you. Yeah, if you've got things that you want to talk about, that you want to just jump on and talk about, let me know. And also, there's this thing called it's Go Live Together, and I mean, this is hard. This is hard. I don't do well. It's really hard. I'm just sitting here. I'm trying to just talk. So I don't want to be contrived. So it probably comes across really difficult. But a conversation is really nice. It's really great to have. And you get so much out of it. And you can just have some really amazing moments, right? And so if someone does want to go live together, let me know, because I would love to do that, because we can have conversation. I'm not sure if you need to be a channel that has the ability on your own to go live, or if it can just be a channel. I need to look into it, but I want people to go live with on my channel. I don't have StreamYard, but I think this is why this what do you call it, this development, whatever, has been introduced, is for people that we can go live together. So we can be on our phones, have a live, we can have a conversation. It'll be so great, and it'll be so much more interesting for these people that put themselves through all of this. It'll be better than just seeing me. Farewell, Diane. Have a great week. Cement, thank you so much, everybody. And yeah, I'll piss off now. Go and let Sea Dog in, put his jammies on, which is he's so cute. He's got a few jammies and everything. But we've had our first really wintry nights lately. So the last 2 nights it's actually been cold, proper cold. And today I've had the air conditioning on warm, just to take the chill off. I'm wearing socks the last few days, so we've really had a turn. But it's very pleasant during the day. Why am I saying all these things? But yeah, I'll bring him in, put on his cute little jammies, give him something more to eat, put his ointment in his eye, and I will book in his appointment, and I'll keep you guys up to date with what happens. But thank you for all your kind thoughts about carnivore dog, because it's concerning. It should be a simple thing, but anything can happen. I want to be positive, but I'm very, very scared. And I don't want anything to happen to. Yeah. All right. Fairly well. Haerera. See you later.